Morning. Welcome to Heron Portico Hotel for this breakfast conversation. And before I start, I want to quote one of my favorite quotes by some gentleman called Christopher McDougall in his book Born to Run. And it says, every morning, imagine with me now, the savannah, every morning in Africa, a gazelle wakes up. It knows it must outrun the fastest lion or it will be killed. Every morning in Africa, a lion wakes up. It knows it must run faster than the slowest gazelle or it will starve. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter whether you're a lion or a gazelle. When the sun comes up, you better be running. And this is the reality of women, PWDs, and other vulnerable groups in every election cycle. The groups must outrun the PWDs, women, youth, must outrun the challenges that come with politics. And in most cases, the conversation is, Murife, don't run. Don't run, Murife. Do not run. But Murife must run because she knows she's creating a better future for her family, her children, the country, and greater of all, the motherland. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the launch of the gender-based violence as a hindrance to special interest groups within political parties, conversation, and breakfast. I am your host with the most, Waithera Kibinda. I am a boy-child advocate, a social disruptor, a conversation starter. And in 2022, I vied for County Women Rep in Murang'a County, the heartbeat of Kenya. Thank you very much. Your check is in the mailbox. I love it. The heartbeat of Kenya is Murang'a County. And in a case of Murife, don't run. I came up second runner-up in a hot contested seat. I'm excited. Thank you. I'm excited there are people who believed in my vision for the county. And I feel today's conversation is paramount, that if political parties, government agencies, surely joined and collaborated with Siasa Place, it will be a big step towards having more women not only participate in elections, not only get into the ballot box, but also get elected and be the change they have been hoping to see. And in a place where it should be, Murife, don't run, it will be, Murife, run. Tell your neighbor, Murife, run. Murife, run. So I just want us to do something as we get ready for the CEO to come and give her remarks for this. Get out your phone. Thank you. I can see already them have at hand. You have your phones? You have your phones? And I want you to take a beautiful selfie with whoever you're seated with. Yes, I can see you being active and excited. Yes. Every time I take selfies, I tell them, make me look thin. So they better make me look thin. So take a selfie. Our hashtag for today is seal of approval. Post it and tag Siasa Place. Tell your people about it, about these paramount conversations. Let your political parties know that you're here. If you're in UDA, please let Madam Veronica know you're here. ODM, everyone, wherever your heart is, let them know you're here and that you're having conversations that will grow your party. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands apart. Apart. Together. Apart. Together. In a sequential sequence. Well done. And help me welcome our CEO, Nerima Wako, to share her remarks. CEO Siasa Place, karibu sana. Mheshimiwa, hawa ni watu wako, wapige hutuba inavyostahili. Karibu, Mheshimiwa. Karibu sana. Welcome. A round of applause for our CEO. We have a whole CEO in the room. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Waithera. Good morning. It's so good to have someone who's so lively in the morning. For me, it takes a bit of a while. I'll start with some juice and then I'll move to coffee. But so glad to have you all this morning for this breakfast meeting to discuss some very serious things, but also to talk about a lot of change. So my job here has been mentioned, Karibuni, Siasa Place. We are hosting you today, and Siasa Place is a youth organization, and I am the director, and a lot of support from the team who's also present here, but also to explain to you why we are here. And many of you are here because you're partners with us within the sector. And also to appreciate Mhesh Joy Mudhoni for joining us this morning as well, and to appreciate your time with your busy schedule. So let me explain the seal of approval. Basically, the name of this initiative is about looking at political parties. There have been a number of studies that have been done. Looking at the violence that occurs during elections, looking at women's participation, looking at how campaign financing impacts or affects or impedes young people's, women's, and people with disabilities participation. However, we hardly ever look at the political party itself. There are also hindrances that occur within parties that are causing obstacles for SIGs, special interest groups, to be able to participate. And so seal of approval is just looking at the various parties in our country. At the moment, Kenya has over 80 political parties, 80 of them. And I know the Registrar of Political Parties, ORPP, tells us that majority of the members within those parties are not young people. When we look at membership, it is not young people. But the majority of the population is young people. And even when we look at the leadership within these parties, we remember when there was a launch and there was an outroar on social media because when they were announcing a launch of a coalition, there were only men on the platform. It's not shocking because most parties are owned by men. In Kenya at the moment, only 7 political parties are female-led as party leaders. And even when we look at this very election, we had 317 MCAs elected countrywide, and I'm looking specifically at young people between the age of 18 to 35. However, 4,000 of them ran, and that's a jump from 2017. 2017 and 2022, we see a rise of 922 young people. 900 came and said, I am willing to put myself on the ballot to be elected as a leader. They go for MCA because it's the low-hanging fruit, but also only 22, an increase of 22 from the previous election cycle. So we're seeing, it's not that young people are not coming out and wanting to be in politics, they are. But we're seeing that the rise of them is very minimal. Now, when we look at the number of MCAs, young people, 317, 303 are male. That means 14 are female. And that glaring difference is worrying for the work that we do. It shows us that as much as we have affirmative action and all of these policies that support for equity, or in terms of gender equity, women are still far, 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 far behind. And many young women are entering politics through nominations. Not many are going through elective. So why? So seal of approval was looking at parties, and we interviewed 6 parties. And these particular parties were sharing with us their experiences during this election, from the community engagements to some of the experiences that they had within the party themselves, and as SIG groups, how they were able to interact within the party And there are key questions that we were asking. Within your political party, do you have safeguarding policies? Do you have policies around sexual harassment? Do you have policies that protect special interest groups? But those answers will be given to us later by the research team when they share what their findings were. So as I go back to saying, many studies have been done, but very few studies have examined political parties themselves, looking at which parties are actually doing the best that they can to support special interest groups, and which parties are the ones that we should highlight, especially those that are doing something different. And even when we look at the dynamics, we talk about millennials, we talk about Gen Z. Around the corner is Generation Alpha. And Generation Alpha is interacting with politics completely differently from how we understand politics. Generation Alpha understands how to use a smartphone before they learn how to say the word A. Generation Alpha knows who their people are on social media before they know who their relative is in the village. Generation Alpha. So our party is ready for this shift. What we're seeing is a shift. There's a lot of online engagement, and we're seeing platforms like TikTok, where there was a rise of hate speech. And we have to remember that TikTok is an organization, a company that is 3 years old. A company that is 3 was shifting how young people were engaging online in the Kenya elections of 2022. We are not ready. So when we look at those changing dynamics and the generations that are coming up, a conversation that's at the fore is also mental health, depression. There are a lot of different departmental arms figuring out how to deal with this pandemic that is affecting our youth right now. And we do not talk about politics being a trigger. Politics is a trigger of stress. Politics is a trigger of depression. But there is no aspect of well-being, even when we look at our political parties, or even when we prepare young people or SIG groups when they're coming into this political fore. And even now, when we look at our political parties, having conversations, especially with young people, I will speak as a young woman and an example that I received from a young man. A young lady said, it's very difficult for me to navigate within my party just because I know that I have potential, I have worked hard within the party, but I am told to be able to receive a ticket, there's someone that I have to see. And someone that I have to see in the sense of at night, someone that I have to see informally, and then I receive a ticket. What do I do? There are many who choose that aspect and that route, and that's how they rise up. But there are some who refuse, and they find themselves being left behind by their party. And when you ask her, did you report it? To who? To the same party leader who is requesting this favor? To who? To the same individual who sits within the National Executive Council? You want me to go to a gender desk that doesn't even have a position within the NEC? That's a waste of time. It'll be buried. And then I asked a young man of his experience. And interestingly, he had a very similar experience. But for him, yes, it was a woman. But it wasn't about reporting. He said, why would I report? Do you want me to look weak? When I bring it up with my boys, they say, you have made it. Look at you, so what did you do? And he said, I can't do that. I can't report it because I will be viewed as a weak man, as someone who is not taking advantage of the opportunity because men, we are hunters and gatherers. And this is my role. But he cannot play that role. So he said, of course I'm not going to report it. Even if they tell us, if you're supposed to report these issues to the police station, how am I going to go to the police and tell the police it's a woman who is harassing me? They will look at me like, where's your... Where's your manhood? So you can see that the conversations that we've had with young people specifically, we see that they have a challenge that is unique. Unique because of the power dynamics, unique because they may want avenues to be able to report issues, but they are non-existent within their parties, even though policy-wise they exist. Unique because they are also struggling with finance, negotiated democracy, with access. There's so many other challenges that also impede their participation. But for me, for today, is to be able to have conversations that are a little bit different, that affect how young people participate. Because if we do not have them now, we will be concerned when we're here, 2027, and reading the statistics of young people's engagement and seeing that the numbers are even lower and wondering why. Yet we have laid out the reasons as to why. And in conclusion, it's that we hope that we're able to have new ideas that we're able to partner and collaborate in, to be able to see come through and to be different. We believe that we have a generation that is redefining politics and engagement. When we have a president who has a whole department for the digital economy, he's seeing something. But we are not moving digitally in the regard of politics. And even when we have a country where Jamhuri Day, we were celebrating innovation, he sees something that we are still behind when it comes to political engagement that we're taking for granted. So for me is to say that I hope that the research team will open up the platform when they're sharing their statistics and their findings for us to think differently about some of the things that we engage in. And also very excited to hear from Heshimiwa, from her experience, and just grateful that she's here because she's one of many. And when I say there are only 14, she's one of the 14. And so hoping that we can also learn from her experience as well. Thank you so much, and karibuni tena.
Thank you very much. You know, sometimes we just think they are numbers, but these are people, these are people's children. This could probably be your next sister-in-law. So I want to invite Madam Joy Muthoni. She's a Mheshimiwa, guys, so we give her the accordance that comes with being Mhesh. Nominated MCA right here in Nairobi. Karibu sana, please come in, Joy. As she shares her experience, how it has been. She was just mentioning to me that she has vied twice. I'm like, it's a wow. You look at her like that, and then even some of you have never run for class prefect. So please, please, give your round of applause to Mheshimiwa Joy Muthoni. Karibu sana.
Hello, good people. Kosalama. Thank you for this platform. Although I've been given 5 minutes, and I think I have a 10-page speech. So I'm going to check my phone and see what is necessary to share and what is not necessary for now, okay? My name is Joy Muthoni. I'm an MCA Nairobi City County Assembly. And it's a shock that I'm learning that I'm among the 14 young women in the entire country who have been elected or nominated as MCAs. I didn't know we are that few. I knew we were few, but I didn't know we are that few. That's really, really a serious thing to focus on and see what we can do as a country and find the root cause of such things. What is causing people not to be elected, especially the young and more so the women. Because yes, you'll find a woman and a man, they have the same education level, same experience, but they're being treated differently when it comes to asking for a certain position. not across, not only in politics, everywhere. You'll go to a company for an interview. Both of you are professionals. Both of you have the same experience, but the man will be treated more of someone who is capable than you, who is a woman, just because of your gender, which is wrong. That has never stopped in Kenya, and that's what we are trying to fight. Thank God, across the whole country, we have something called the Women Caucus, which is trying to strengthen women who are in politics to pull other women into politics. And although we have the two-third gender rule that has not been implemented up to now across the entire country, the president promised within, did he say 6 months or 3 months? He's going to ensure that is really implemented. We are really hoping he's going to do that. And we, the women, are the ones to push for that. A man will not go to push for the two-third gender rule because by the end of the day, he's not being affected in any way, but women are being affected. So, yes, as I said, my name is Joy Muthoni. I've applied twice for MCA seat. Yes, we always start with a small seat most of the time because we're judged by our age, our marital status, our gender. Those are the issues we're judged with. Instead of somebody asking you, what is your experience, what is your profession, what are you going to do for us? Because as for me, if you go to Komarok Ward in Nairobi, they'll always tell you, Joy has the best vision for our area. According to them, when you go and do, I can give you for free, go and do a research in Komarok Ward. Ask them among those people who have ever vied, who is more capable than the other. They're going to tell you there's a lady called Joy. I've been doing community work there for nearly 8 years now. I started fighting for the human rights back in 2013, 2014 there. And I started with my community, where people are being affected based on what they need basically. Lack of water. Insecurity, those are the issues that made me join community work. Girl child not going to school. You find two people in a homestead, they're not going to school, but most of the time it will be a girl. The boy is going to school, but the girl is being left at home. That is happening also in Nairobi. When the father or the mother lacks school fees, he's going to make sure the boy is in school, but the girl remain at home, saying, ngoja mama, tatafuta shule, tatafuta pesa ya shule, but the boy is still going to school. That's the problem. That's how I started going, trying to handle issues to do with wananchi mashinani. And I found myself being told, why don't you just vie for a position whereby you're going to be the decision maker, not just fighting for us in these political offices, but being the person who's making those decisions in that political office. And that happened in 2017, where I vied, and I ended up being, I went to a political party that was good, and which was being led by a woman. So I cannot give much information of what something bad that happened in that political party, because the woman made sure women are growing in that party. We were really empowered in that political party. I really regret from leaving the party, but I had to. I'll give you maybe later on a decision why I had to leave. But when it comes to empowerment, that political party, it really made women grow fast. Within 5 years, I was able to really cut across a lot of issues back in mashinani, even if I did not win the election in 2017. But wananchi bado ni wale, they are going to tell you, hey, hii rika yako bado Joy, haijafika ya kuongoza, tuachie ule mzee fulani mpali, sawa. So, a man won in 2017, and 2022, here I was still vying again. Somebody from the blues came and took over still. That's the political word. It was a man again. The whole entire Embakasi Central, that is a whole constituency containing 5 wards. All of them are led by men. 5 wards, a man, and the MP, still a man. But people don't see an issue with that. Majority of the people who mobilized voters, majority of the people who did campaign for those men are women. They are used as the grassroots leaders to pull other people to vote. A man will not do that. A man will say, mi nimeenda kazi, mi nitafute siku ya kupiga kura. But a woman will go knocking door to door, making sure a certain person wins. But that person mostly will be a man. And we must look for the root cause of such issues. What is happening? What is causing this? My aim, I see there's a problem down here, but it's been caused maybe from the family level, on how we are brought up, but also the executive, that is the government. When you look at leadership is an entity by itself. You really need power and influence for you to get into that position. That is influence and power. But when you break it down, you find yourself in a position whereby you will need not professionalism, not education, but your influence will come on matters to do with your stability and whom you know. The people you know, networks, and your stability. Those are the issues mostly that will bring you into power today in politics. You put aside the certificates you have that you acquired. You forget about the graduation you did, and you start knocking doors, the doors that you know. Personally, for I to be nominated this year, I found myself in someone's house at around 11 p.m. Mtu alikuwa shavaa nguo za kwenda kulala. Okay, she's a woman, don't worry. So I was taken to that woman because she's an MP somewhere, and I wanted her to influence my party to nominate me. So I was taken to her home at night. I talked with her. The lucky part, the most lucky part was this. When I told my mother that I'm going to see her, it was so fortunate, or a lucky point whereby my mother told me, when you reach that place, tell her you're the daughter of so-and-so. So this woman used to school with my mother while they were kids in primary school. I never knew that. So after talking too much, saying what I want, I told her, Anne, and my mother told me to tell you hi. Who's your mother? I explained. So she was so shocked and happy as well. So since then, she has been treating me as the daughter of so-and-so. She tried her best, but she told me, the person I'm talking to seems already he has somebody else to fix somewhere. So I wasn't sure if I'll be nominated. And indeed, when I knocked those doors, I was being told, people are giving out 2 million. Others are giving out 1 million. What are you bringing on the table? I had to explain a lot. I had to explain a lot for the person to listen to me without money. The person did not want anything else. And he did not tell me directly that I want money, but definitely he's telling me there's a lot of challenges ahead of you. And other women are bringing a lot. And I can tell you for sure, these are the things women are passing through for them to get into political positions. And others are more than willing to give out, even to sleep with people, women, especially young women. Oh, sorry, even the old. I know a number. So, yeah, I know a number. They're willing to sleep with somebody for them to get positions. And you know that happens also in the private sector. For you to be employed, it's not about the interview. Today, that is Kenya. And what is causing this? As Nerima has put it, politics is affecting everything. People usually ignore the world of politics, but it affects everything. If leadership is led by men, what do you expect down here? Even the private sector, it's going to be dominated by men. Because most of the time, influence will come from powerful people. Somebody in a powerful position will order also a private sector on who to employ, right? And if the people who are in the big positions are men, whom are they going to influence to get into those positions? Fellow men, right? And that's the problem. You're going to find somebody is fighting for you. Most of the time they term you as girlfriend. Don't touch Joy. She's my girlfriend. A powerful person in a political party or maybe even the place you work in. Don't touch Joy. Uni wangu. But that person don't want you to grow. He just wants you to feel you're protected. But the moment you try to push for agendas, he's telling you, cool down. Because he doesn't want you to grow. The moment you grow, you shine. And then you shine, you bring up other women. You bring up other people who have been vulnerable. They are vulnerable. In the long run, this thing has been affecting us from top to bottom. I can tell you for sure, a woman knows what a fellow woman goes through down there. A man will look at his pocket, what are you bringing on the table? But a woman will feel what you're going through at mashinani level, right? I thank God my party today, the SG is a woman. The SG is a woman, which really helped us a lot. Coordinator of Nairobi also was a woman. She played a very big role to ensure we got the most votes in Nairobi, most seats in Nairobi. And I think that really helped us. But still, majority of those who got seats are men. That's the problem. Corruption is a big player in this, but let us find the root cause of these issues. And most of the time, I'm telling you, it will be about politics. The moment you put more women, women will fight for other women to grow. But the moment you fill the positions with men, men will look for other men to be there, or a woman who is not capable, but only giving out what they feel they deserve, like sleeping with them in the bed, which is so wrong. What have I left? Let me. Oh, yeah. I think there's a woman who gave me an experience today in the morning, who is a member of county assembly. And she told me, ensure that has been highlighted. So for her, the challenge was about being nominated. Yes, she also vied, but she was being told to leave it for a man. Asking a reason why, she wasn't being given. She was just being told that man is influential than her. Yeah. So she refused. And when she refused, the man used to be called in the party to be funded directly, headquarters. The man was being given money, she wasn't being given anything. And they are all vying with the same political party. She was so frustrated to a point that she wanted to leave the party, but a friend of the political party advised her not to do that. She was told to still keep moving until the moment she wins, it's okay. If she doesn't, she hasn't given up. So her frustration did not allow her. She had to leave the party. Later on, the party made a speech and said something wrong about her, accused her of something she had not done, and told the people, Mashinani, kindly vote for this man. For the other woman, do not deserve the position, and she left the party without even giving us a reason why. So they accused whatever the woman was claiming about the party was wrong, which the party was the one that had taken advantage of her situation and frustration, and to tell her not to vie for the sake of the man to get into that position. I don't know who that man is. She did not give me a name, but I believe most of the time for that to happen in your party, the man has brought a lot of money in your party, or maybe the man is a son of somebody somewhere in this country of ours. Unfortunately, those are the issues that are affecting us on our day-to-day basis, and we really need to do something about it. Narima, we really need to find the root cause of these issues and see how we can tackle it. If you'll have to join hands, go around the country, see how we can empower women. Even those who have vied before and gave up, we need to deal with such people and know why they had to give up and see where we can help them. Most of the women are unemployed, and those women are affected financially when it comes to politics. Politics need money. Politics need a lot of money. I can tell you in 2017, I had to be funded. And those people who funded me are two men. One of them is somebody who believed in me because he saw what I used to do in the community, and he wanted somebody like me to lead where he lives. And the other one was just a political man from the blues. He saw my capability when I went somewhere in a ceremony whereby when my party was mentioned, people started shouting, "Joy, joy, joy." So I made the party more famous by then. So he made sure he funded me that year. That is 2017. I used, that is 600,000, but I still failed. This year alone, I can't count whatever I've used. It nearly took me to depression for a whole month. I had to take a 3-week break out of Nairobi. A 3-week break. Thank God I had my sister within who could encourage me and tell me kindly, don't give up. I'm sorry that I have to share my issues with me. Personally, I suffer from a sickness called epilepsy. And I usually fear whenever I'm stressed out, I may get seizure. So that's the first thing I was shocked about when I was announced. I had not won, and counting the number of money I had used. Sorry, sometimes you have to be corrupt. Yes, I'm a born-again Christian, but sometimes you have to be corrupt for us to get into power. They tell you, yeah, money is what brings you to politics, so you have to use money. So we used a lot of money. That same day of nomination alone, I gave out over 800,000. One day. Within one day. They were telling me, we are not going to vote before you give us money. So give us money and then you pay us for voting for you. Give us money to vote for you, then pay us for voting for you. And because of frustrations, because those are common wananchi threatening you. Remember, the party is not on your side. They are on the side of the person who have given out millions of money. But they'll tell you we are going to do free and fair election. They're going to tell you the agents are going to come from other constituencies, but they're going to come from your area. And those people are corrupt. They know whom to push for. You're going to go there with the name of Karanja, and they're going to tick Omondi has voted, and you are Karanja. Then I go again and tick another name like Kioko, and you are Karanja, vote again and again, because they want the person whom Karanja is supporting to win. So I had to use over 800,000 that day. The moment I was told I was number 3, I could only tell my driver I want to sleep. Take me to bed, because I had not slept for 48 hours. 48 good hours I had not slept, I had not taken medicine, because I really wanted that seat for sure. And the one who won, he was even shocked that he had won. Because he came from nowhere. He was not a resident of the area. He was just a guy who was doing business along Kangundo Road, then told, yeah, we need people like you, businessmen, to come and lead us. And took advantage of his business. His business was to sell used cars. So those used cars were the ones doing campaign. Joy had no car. So I only used her sister's car for campaign. But it shocked me that I was not announced the winner. I had to tell my driver to take me home. I would need to sleep, but he did not do that. We spent the whole night crying. Then I took a break of 3 weeks. But I thank God my sister was around to tell me that you need to wake up again and push for something else, as another thing. And that is the nomination seat. So you can imagine if I used over 2 million shillings for vying for MCA seat. What will I use for nomination? What is there left for nomination seat? So you'll have to convince with your own mouth. I thank God I never came across somebody who will ask for any other thing. What I did, the person I decided to campaign for to win the MP seat is the person I pushed to ensure that I'm listed down among the nominated MCAs. And I thank God he's the one who sent me the link to apply. So at least I had hope. If he's telling me to apply for nomination, maybe he's there to push for it. But I knew he had been bribed by a number of women from the area. And in the long run, for him to win the Komarok seat, he told me, come and campaign for this person who won against you, and you're going to make sure you get the nominated seat. And once he did that in public and told the Wananchi, in Komarok you'll be having 2 MCAs. One of them is the one you're going to vote for, and Joy, the nominated one. I said, hallelujah. But that should not be the situation. We should not be fighting as if you're frustrated to get into position. It should be about professionalism, ability, your capability, your passion, your goals for the area. You should be knowing issues that are affecting people. It's so sad that the person who got in today is calling me now and then asking me, what did you used to do when these issues are affecting the people? What did you used to do? He's calling me to assist him because he even didn't have a manifesto. You know, those are the problem. Wananchi are voting in people because they have given them money ya unga, but that should change. It should change from wale watu wa mashinani, and even the media. Media plays a big role, which we ignore. Daily, they're bringing us the same faces to come and talk kwa news. Talk about issues that are really affecting the people. Yesterday, I shared something that Gideon Keter had pushed for early this year. That is a bill to erect the KRA, the requirements, help, KRA, and so forth. That thing was passed early this year, but a media personality inboxed me and told me, has this been passed today? I told him, no, early this year. I told them, you should be following. He said, I could have made sure this thing was highlighted today. I told him, it's not about highlighting it. Now make sure it's implemented as a media. Make sure you're following up, asking questions, whether this thing is being implemented in all government institutions, in all companies. Because what the representative did, he already went there and pushed for something that Wananchi wanted. But now, it's about follow-up. Ask even the chairman of implementation committee in the National Assembly, are you making sure this thing has been implemented? Those are the things we want happening in our country right now. Instead of sending the wrong people, just make sure the right people are in there.
Asante.
Asante sana.
Wow, that was
Thanks
so
for this.
heartfelt. A round of applause, please. We thank you even for making time. I know from your busy schedule, and for even being vulnerable, you know, and those are some of the things we get to assume that we go through. So Joy, thank you so much. And Komarok is truly blessed to have two MCAs, and we wish you all the best. And come 2027, go for the bigger seat, not the low-hanging fruit. I want to call Jacqueline Nganga, or Nganga, to highlight to us what they have found on their research, what we're talking about.
I was triggered. I was waiting for my opportunity to confirm that I have learned for the prefect seat when Waithera here said some of us have never even run for prefect in class. So as we set up, I just want to, so my name is Jacqueline Nganga. As we set up, I just want to just look at a few issues as Judy gets the presentation on. First, I'm really grateful to Muthoni for being vulnerable with us and sharing your experiences. And it's interesting to hear some of the things that go on behind the scenes, because there are people that you talk to and they just tell you, oh, it was so hard. It is hard. But when you ask the hard, people don't want to really go through what the hard is. So I was looking for this quote because I have, used it a number of times, and it really thrills me every time. It's by Michelle Obama, and she says that no country can truly flourish if it stifles the potential of its women and deprives itself of the contribution of the half of its citizens. And as much as we are talking about the experiences of women, the experiences of young people in political parties, it's not that we are not looking at the experiences of other people, but only understanding the fact that politics is very dynamic, and there are issues that either affect persons with disability or affect young women or affect young men. And I've always looked at women from different levels. For example, Waithera and I here are what the society would call, quote-unquote, privileged women. We may talk on behalf of women, but when we talk on behalf of women, we have never lived the experiences of women in the pastoralist communities. We've never had to live the experiences of a woman running for her life to save herself or her daughter from FGM. And there are many things that we may never really have experienced to say that we are talking for women. So it is important for us, even as we have this conversation. Judy, are we doing okay? Even as we have this conversation, to realize that we are not saying that violence, we are not saying that there's no discrimination against other people. There are. But it's only that we've decided to focus on young women or the youth, persons with disability and special interest groups, because of the issues of intersectionality. The other thing that I was noting as I was tracing the journey to women and young people in leadership is I watched an interview where Phoebe Asio talked about going to primary school in this mission school, where her and the few girls who were there did not have to attend mathematics class because it was a preserve of men, and because men were the breadwinners, they didn't have to learn mathematics. And so, just looking at how these things have played from the beginning, so that there were subjects for men, and then there were subjects for women, for the very first women who went to school, like Phoebe. And getting to a place where now we are talking about STEM, yeah, for girls, because we have also institutionalized this as STEM is for men. It is boys who should study engineering and physics. Girls, let's come to the other side and figure out home science and catering. Okay, looks like we are there, Judy. Okay. So as we start, why political parties? Because political parties are the vehicle through which many of us access leadership. And they give us sort of like, they give us validity. They give us legitimacy. That if you want to run for political office and you don't identify with a party, very few people will take you seriously. But that is not to say that we have not had options. But the options that we have had for people running for as independent candidates is mostly because people who lose nominations use the independent seat as a fallback plan. There are very few people who from the onset decide that they are going to run without having a party. But because of the frustrations in the parties, because of the issues of nomination, some being rigged out or some being told, please step down for Mheshimiwa so-and-so, you're still young, Nerima. By the time you get to 40, you will have seen many things. Your time will come. So they opt for the independent seat. I had a discussion with the registrar of political parties, and she said that 3,028 candidates were cleared to run for elections on the independent seat. And out of those, only 127 were voted in. Such a drop in the ocean. And that is why it is important for us to talk about the issues in political parties and how then do we move forward. So I'll do a run through, but mostly I want us to have a discussion, not necessarily a presentation. So the goal of this research was for us to develop policy guidelines on how political parties work in terms of strengthening their policies on the structures on violence and harassment, and mostly on online bullying and online violence and harassment against women, against persons with disability, and against special interest groups. The thing is, with this election, there was a lot of online conversations about elections, unlike 2017. I think the internet age is growing. When we had the last elections, we didn't have TikTok, for example. When we had the last election, I think majority, like myself, I was on Facebook. Then now I'm discovering all these other social platforms and trying to keep up. And so there are many conversations happening out here. And there was a lot of conversations on bullying of women, the youth, persons with disability, and special interest groups in the community. Special interest group in this case being marginalized women. Like I was saying, whether I and I are privileged women, we cannot talk about the issues of women in Garissa, for example, who have not gone to school, or who wake up and have to, you know, figure out how life will be when they're married off at 14. And so I remember seeing this conversation about this lady who was running for political office, a Muslim woman who is divorced. And the conversation took a whole different perspective, especially because of her religion and her being divorced. And her now wanting to run for political office, as in how, why, who are you? And she took a photo in a place where she was campaigning for nominations with a man. And she suddenly became a prostitute. And she suddenly became many things within her community, simply because she took a photo with a man, and she was divorced, and this man was not her husband. So what did we look at? We looked at the current status of participation of the youth, the women, persons with disability, and special interest groups in the parties. And not just in the parties, but essentially in the political scene. People who have vied and lost and decided to support other people. People who are active in their parties, but they're not MCAs. They're not like Mheshimiwas in an office. And we looked at political party structures and how then do they support, or how do they support women? How do they support the youth? How do they support every other person in the party when it comes to online gender-based violence or gender-based violence? What are the barriers of these people accessing political offices? And how then does violence and harassment become a hindrance? And how do we move forward? And so the essence is essentially to come up with policy guidelines that are evidence-based to look at how can parties more effectively cater for their members. So how did we do this? We had interviews, we looked at media reports, we looked at the parties' constitutions, and we looked at the laws and policies on violence and harassment, the Political Parties Act, for example, the laws that govern parties and elections, and the Constitution of Kenya. Okay. So I think I had actually like sort of tried to lay the background before we came on but just to mention that as much as we talk about equal opportunity, non-discrimination, and equality, when we look at political parties, women and the youth and persons with disability are least represented, and especially when it comes to the party leadership. One of the things that we notice is that if a woman is a leader, it's either she is heading it's called the Women League. Is heading the Women League, or if the youth is a leader, the youth is heading the Youth League. A person with disability is heading the PWD's league. But when we come to the neck, when you come to the chairman, the secretary, the treasurer, the SG, people who make big decisions in the parties, women are not necessarily represented. I can see Mheshimiwa is nodding her head. Judy, we move. My technical team needs support. Okay, so I had actually mentioned most of this, that political parties are the vehicles through which most of us access political office, and that women in their diverse roles experience violence and harassment. From when you say that you're going to vie for political office, we don't even wait to know how you're vying, under which party. We start looking for your inadequacies and looking at whether you are you fit the bill or not. I remember having a conversation in another platform where a lady mentioned that the day Chief Justice Martha Koome ascended to office, the Google search for that day was her family. Who is her husband? How many children does she have? And I thought, do we figure out how many children, how many wives is he married for a man? Like, for me, it was very unsettling, especially because, first, she's not a politician. Secondly, because she has been in this profession, so we know her track record. She was not new to us. So why is it that at this particular point we wanted to know whether she had a husband? Back to our conversation. So that is how violence starts. We want to establish your marital status first. We want to establish if you have children. We want to establish whether you have been divorced before. And then our attacks will take the form of you are unmarried, you are divorced, you don't have children of your own, you're not married in our community, so you should go and vie where you are born. And different perspectives, really, of how violence plays. So the fact that violence happens in political parties is a place or a conversation that we've not really had. We have conversations of gender-based violence out here. We have conversations of gender-based violence in politics and how women are harassed online, but we don't talk about political parties. So it is very important for us to concentrate on political parties and why there is such normalization of GBV or online gender-based violence. As Mahesh has told us here, that, yeah, you go to somebody's house, and I saw how your facial expressions changed until she said it was a woman. You had already moved to, oh, he was in his sleeping clothes. Jesus, what happened? Are you okay? You had already shifted. Why? Because that is the reality. You were closely monitoring this conversation and where it ends and whether she walked out alive, but we can see she's here. So why does it happen? Because we don't have sufficient structures or mechanisms to deal with violence and harassment at the party level. We talked about online bullying before and how women, youth, and persons with disability are profiled on social media and even outside here. I remember going on, I went to Kibra sometime during this election. I was confused to be part of this campaign, but I wasn't. I was there on a totally different conversation, but it was during the political season. And so I don't know whose mistaken identity, someone maybe looked like me and someone told me, hey, lazima utuachie pesa. And I said, no. Like, pesa for what? For elections. And I said, no, me, I don't have money for elections. Like, I'm trying to show, me, I'm not part of this campaign. And all of a sudden, someone said, sasa we unatusumbua in the way you are, wewe ni mweusi. And I wondered, okay, first of all, I am dark. And it is okay. Like, why? Like, is that supposed to be an insult? Like, I am dark and it is okay. Like, I have accepted. This is me. And I wondered, wait, what is happening here? Like, I was just walking in Kibra. And And all of a sudden, I have been targeted. Someone has started looking at how do I attack her. Let's start with she's black. And I'm like, but I am black. Like, it's not disputed. Yeah? So, but then how many people will feel triggered because, okay, and start that conversation from different perspective. But for me, I simply moved on and realized I may not be in a very safe place. Maybe I need to cross back to Langata. And just moved on with life. But why am I saying this? Because I think even on the streets, there's a lot of bullying beyond the online space. The online space on the streets everywhere. And we need to have serious interventions on how all this profiling can end. And we can only do that if we have accountable, inclusive political parties. When we have structures in place and not just policies. I know this country, we love laws. We have many laws. But I don't know if we go back and ask ourselves, how come this law is not working for us? Implementation is a big issue. So being able to really look at how our parties are run and being able to come up with policies that work for the people. And to talk about power structures within political parties. And I'm happy that we had Mheshimiwa Muthoni talk before our presentation. One, because party structures and the power dynamics is something very interesting. One, in Kenya, we say that parties have owners. As much as they're supposed to be democratic vehicles, we say they are owners. Same with media houses. Media houses have owners, and the owners have interests, and the interests have to be met in one way or the other. In a conversation where people talk about politics and media, I'm always happy to highlight that because sometimes I feel like we put a lot of pressure on the media should be doing, the media owes us. Who is the media? Who owes us? Who should be doing what for us? And that is why it is important for us to really empower Amwikia and, you know, organizations outside the what we call the traditional media space, to be able to highlight some of these issues that we have and to be able to come up with conclusive conversations. Because if we don't talk about these things and if they are not highlighted, as Hesh was saying, there are 5 male MCAs and a male MP in a constituency. Like, you don't see that is wrong, but did we know? Do we know, and how do we then know and highlight these issues? So what are the factors that hinder women and youth from political leadership? One is the cultural underpinnings that women belong to the kitchen in some of the communities. You are young, your time will come. Please let us wait a bit, grow, have experience, and then you will come. There is the issue of, especially women who are, if you're divorced, for example, your marital status, issues like FGM, where women are married, young women are married early. And if that woman had a dream to lead this nation, then maybe their dream is cut off at that point. The issue of education, I'd actually given the example of Phoebe Asio as we started, where she says about going to a missionary school and not being allowed to the maths class because they were not going to be breadwinners. They were not going to school to be breadwinners. So they didn't need to know how to count money, maybe. And then political. We've talked about power dynamics, women being rigged out during party nominations, and being promised appointments. We will fix you somewhere, tutakupanga, we will get you a position in, we will have you as CC, and a lot of negotiated democracy that I've realized from this research that it's not only a preserve of women, even young men. Young men are told to wait and allow their fathers to lead first. And some of them are told, and there is this conversation where Heshimiwa was telling us that when he was running for MP, he was told, but you're going to be confused by these young women. All your money will go. get grounded first and you will run for political office later. Right now, we don't have confidence that you will say no to these girls. So the other thing is financial. We have just been told this morning that what are you bringing to the table? It's either you are the table or you're bringing something to the table. And if people are paying even to be nominated to office, it's very, very sad. Then it means that people who can actually lead us then are disenfranchised because they cannot afford to pay the price to become our leaders. And then there's the issue of violence and harassment. I gave the example of Julia Ojambo because it is an old example, and just for you to see how things have not changed. So Julia Ojambo talks about running for political office in the 1970s, and her husband being physically assaulted and left for dead. But how much have we moved from that conversation between the 1970 to 2022? There may not be a lot of like physical violence in 2022, but 2017 we saw it. It was sad. So we really need to move. So what are the experiences of young women? I think I have captured most of these experiences. But just to mention the issue of stress, depression, politics is a stressor. We've just been told how you easily sink into depression, actually. And not just because you have lost, because of the mind that you have put to it, because of the commitment that you have put to it, because mostly when you lose, you know that you did not even lose fairly, that you were either rigged out or somebody else was preferred over you. And with all the harassment that comes with it, and then now losing elections, it is such a stressor. And how then can parties support, or how have parties supported persons within their parties because of these issues? Just for me to go back to you, Mhesh, for a minute, did you receive any kind of support, emotionally, psychologically, during the process? Not from anybody, not from the party, outside your family? None. None. I attended a meeting earlier, I think early September, and it had members of parliament who had, or rather people who had vied for member of parliament seat and lost. And the stories were sad. And what is really sad is the fact that there have been no structures to emotionally support and to psychologically support these women or these young men. I don't know if any of you saw this media interview of this lady who had said they had sold their piece of land. They had sold literally everything for her to run for political office, and then she lost. But there are no structures to support mental health of these people who have lost. I don't know, we will have that discussion with Waithera later. She can tell us her perspective. So what are we recommending? We are recommending that the implementation of Article 27, the not more than 2/3 gender rule, be done. If you followed the conversation on the 2/3 gender rule, well, the journey has been long. We are always almost getting there, and then we are not getting there. And to imagine we have now, are they 4 court cases, 4 court decisions on the 2/3 gender rule, and we still haven't really gotten there. We need provision of confidential counseling supports and mechanisms for persons who have vied for political office or even gone through nominations. We need to check on them and see where are they mentally, what kind of support are they getting, who do we work with to get them support? How can parties set up structures to ensure that we eliminate violence and harassment in the parties, and also have support structures for persons who are vying for political office, or for persons who are vying for party leadership? Even party leadership, we have seen when the parties have elections, It's crazy. How do we ensure that these people do not lose their mind as they lose their money in the process? So we're also looking at, can we have guidelines? The other issue actually is campaign funding. So I talked to a number of women who are in parliament right now. Interestingly, I had a conversation with two ladies who vied from the same party. Their conversations were very different. One of them received campaign material, the other one did not receive. One of them received 1 million from the party, the other one received 400,000 from the same party. And I asked, so who determines how much you get, or how much support you get for campaign? And I was told, the party leader. Is that the case? Who determines? They were lucky. They were lucky to get, you see. So there are people who never get. There are people who get some, and there are people who get a lot. So that is the other thing. Like, there's a lot of discrimination on how people are supported within the party. Then, next slide. we are finished. We're already on the next slide. I'd actually already covered that. Yeah. So I want to say something about media engagement. I've already talked about the fact that media has also owners. But if you look at how coverage is done for women and persons with disability, it's very minimal. And so then how do we proceed? And that's why the conversation of online security is important to us, because the social media is the only platform that you don't have to negotiate for space or pay for space to be able to sell your agenda. So it is essentially very important that as much as we want media to exercise neutrality in how they report and have a balanced view of reporting, it is important for us to be able to look at the safety of the digital space to ensure that people are able to sell their agenda and to brand themselves and to campaign in a place that is safe and that does not really cost them money. So the other thing we want to recommend in terms of the parties is that the party leadership, because we've already established, is highly male-dominated. And these people decide, as two ladies with experience on this table have told us, that the people who even got support are lucky. There is a lot of power. There's a serious power shift in political parties on how even decisions are made. So it is important for us to have an external structure for oversight to address some of these cases. And we were thinking of having a collab between the Political Parties Liaison Committee and the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties to come up with clear structures that parties can follow in terms of their nominations, in terms of how they conduct elections, in terms of how they protect their members from violence and harassment, and how then are these cases reported and followed through conclusively. So what's next? So we had like 4 broad final conclusions. One, that parties need to partner with mostly CSOs. There are a lot of CSOs out here that are working on the GBV agenda and offering counseling support to survivors of violence and harassment. Maybe not necessarily politics related, but this would be a good standing point. The other thing is funding of youth-led political parties, because we realize that these small parties actually don't have funding from government, because a party qualifies for funding if it has, depending on the number of seats they have, from the last elections. So if you're a young party that is growing and you fielded candidates and maybe they didn't win, then you have very minimal support from the registrar of political parties. Legislative reform, but more or less having policy reform to look at violence and harassment in political parties, and also having government agencies take up the cases of violence and harassment in a more serious way. Like Nerima was saying, if you go to the police station and say you were sexually harassed and you are a man and this is politics, they will wonder why you are not manning up. So we need to have government agencies, the police, the Inspector General, and IPOA really come up and look closely and more keenly on the issues of violence and harassment in politics. My 5 minutes times 5 have ended. I am happy to report I didn't feel discriminated. Thank you.
Thanks. See? Thanks. It's a mouthful, but thank you very much for making time. Please press the right buttons with the other parties. Let them know that we have this conversation, because the future of elections now is online, right? I also want to recognize Mr. Justice Juma from Justice and Freedom Party. Thank you very much. Salimia wananchi. Anyone from Machamamas? Yes, yes. Mzuri. Asante sana. Yes, yes. Today is the 2/3 gender rule is not working, but you're in a safe place. I just feel like saying, Wamama hi. Wamama wow. And Hamisa, I am so sorry, Hamisa? Hamisa, Amkao. Forgive me. Amisa, thank you very much for sharing about mental wellness. And we know it's a big thing, especially now, because being a politician, I know the trauma is real, and still have to function as a wife, a mother, a taxpayer, and a participant in a political party is not easy. I also want to recognize the standing governor of Taita Taveta, because there's already a sitting one. Patience Nyange, thank you for making time, and we congratulate. It passed you, Daisy. It passed, yeah. So she's the standing governor at Taita Taveta. And we wish you all the best in your newest capacity and hope to see you in 2027. Joy, thank you very much for making time for us in your busy schedule. You have time for us. And I'm mostly honored because you showed us your scars. Most cases, we just talk about scars, but today you showed us your scars, and we wish you all the best. I want to invite Siasa Place, Judy, to finish. I'm done. I think I'm done. I have been your host. My name is Wedera Kibinda. I'm a boy-child advocate. I call myself mother of sons. And it was a pleasure being with you in this room. So my M-Pesa till number is... Okay. Finally, yeah? Thanks. I want to invite Nerima because Siasa Place has a heart to honor people. And Nerima, just as you do your final remarks. And yes, and thank you again for giving me the privilege to be on your platform. I don't take it for granted. So God bless you and Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much, Waithera. Let's give Waithera another hand of applause for a good job well done. And I'm not going to be here for long. It's to appreciate Mhesh, so kindly step up. I would like to appreciate you. And just a token of thanks from us here for spending the morning with us. Here you go. You're welcome. Karibu. So everybody else, thank you so much, and thank you for spending the morning with us and the energetic conversations. Of course, when the report is done, we will share, and willing to have this conversation to go forward and to partner and collaborate in making sure the things we've discussed here come to fruition. And Amisa, we will definitely have you on board with mental health. Thank you.
Thank you. I keep telling Nerima it's really hard speaking after her because I feel like she's said everything. But mine is just to thank you all for spending the morning with us. I know it's not easy to make time during this end of the year period. I know the burnout is real. There are a lot of things going on, and it's also very cold. But thank you so much for making your time. It's been a pleasure spending the morning with us. Thank you for everyone who was part of the key informative interviews, CMD, Ukweli Party, all the political parties. Thank you so much, Nafula and Jackie. I know it hasn't been easy. Imagine they did all this amazing work in 1 month. Yes, so I really want to thank you all. Thank you to our partners. Thank you to our friends. Thank you, Mhesh, for making time and for sharing your experience. And our media people, we have media people, so just stay back, Kidogo, for interviews and also sentiments. Our rapporteur, Gladys, thank you. Thank you for the live stream group. Thank you, our photographer, and the team at Siasa Place working at the back end. Have a Merry Christmas and a wonderful year. And then we'll be sharing the research once it's out. Okay. Hi,
I think you forgot to say thank you to the MC. We start now. Yeah? Exactly. And
Ooh, Waithera amenizoea. But how could I forget?
Oh.
Thank you so much, Waithera. Waithera she's always there for us. Akipigiwa hata simu, imagine she didn't know she's emceeing today. So, you know, we talk a lot because we fellowship together. So I called her and then I'm like, oh, so I'm seeing you tomorrow. She's like, hey, where? Hey, tomorrow I'm emceeing somewhere at noon. I'm like, yes, we need you at 7. At anything for you, Judy. Anything for Siasa Place, I'll be there. Thank you so much, Waithera. You did an amazing job. You did an amazing job last week. I know I didn't say thank you for that. So I'm putting them all together. Thank you so much. I love the way you have context. You also have experience. So you're sharing as a preacher, as a politician, and as a woman who vied. Yes. So thank you. Kama nimekusahau, inua mkono nikuambie thank you pia wewe.